Jonathan Groves. Jonathan's hanging on by a thread in a hospital bed, banged up but alive, for now. After everything that's happened, you'd think a hospital would be the safest place left. But this is Final Destination, so no. Upstairs, an orderly leaves a tub running and walks away like it's someone else's problem. Water starts to spill, seeping through the floorboards, slow and steady. Down below, Jonathan's ceiling starts to leak. The help button? Short-circuited. Every drop of water feels like a warning, and Jonathan knows it. He's in pain, bleeding, and now crawling across the floor. Then, just when he's almost clear, the ceiling gives out and the entire tub crashes through and lands directly on top of him. Nick and George show up just in time to witness the mess. Too late to help, too early to unsee it. George Lanter. After failing to save Jonathan from his surprise bathtub finale, George and Nick step outside the hospital, shaken but still moving. The plan? Find Lori and Janet, regroup, and maybe try not dying for at least 5 minutes. But it's quiet. Almost too quiet. An ambulance,
ironically,
slams into George at full speed, turning him into a human crash test dummy. One moment he's walking, the next he's modern art on the pavement. Billy Hitchcock. Things are tense. Carter, convinced he's next on death's hit list, decides to prove a point by stalling his car directly on a set of railroad tracks. Because nothing says, "I'm in control," like tempting a high-speed train to do your dirty work. As the train barrels toward them, Alex, Clear, and Billy bail. Carter, unsurprisingly, changes his mind at the very last moment. But oops, he's stuck. Alex pulls off a last-second rescue and yanks him free just before the train demolishes the car in spectacular fashion. Crisis averted, or so they think. Billy, ever the voice of barely contained panic, starts unloading on Carter.
You're dead! You're dead!
Are you sure about that? Yeah, death doesn't take kindly to being told what to do. As the train passes, a loose chain dangling underneath catches a chunk of shrapnel from the destroyed car. It whips it forward like Death's playing Mortal Kombat and sends it flying straight toward Billy. The shrapnel tears through him from the jaw up, clean and brutal. His body collapses like a dropped mannequin while everyone else stands frozen in total horror. Andy Kewzer. At the auto shop, things start going south the way they always do in Final Destination. Slowly, stupidly, and with a little bit of bodily fluid. Inside, some guy nonchalantly spits into a can, because hygiene is optional, apparently, and sets it on top of a metal crate. Outside, Andy is chatting with Nick, George, and Lori. The can tips. The spit leaks down and lands directly on a winch. He narrowly dodges it, missing a full-body crush by inches, but Death wasn't aiming for squash today, it was going for shred. Because the weight of the van pulls the winch out of its socket, and it whips through the air like a steel boomerang, hitting the top of a CO2 tank. Andy turns around just in time to see the tank rocket straight into his torso, blasting him backward into a metal fence. And then, that fence slices him like deli meat. Roy Carson. So, we've got Nathan and Roy here. After a not-so-subtle jab shows up in the factory's messaging system, tensions run high. Nathan's already on edge, and Roy's in full "I don't need anger management" mode. While the two argue mid-catwalk, Nathan notices something a little more important than Roy's trash talk: a massive lifting hook swinging their way. Nathan, being the only one with functioning survival instincts, tries to get them both out of the way. Roy thinks it's a fight. Instead of moving, he shoves back. He just barely misses getting skewered by a pole below, only to land face first on the hook, which impales him clean through the skull, like he's today's fresh catch at a meat market. Hunt Wynorski. Hunt's the guy who thinks sunscreen and common sense are optional. So naturally, while Nick is having one of his spooky, icy death-coming visions, this time featuring water, Hunt's just chilling at a country club pool, living his best "I'm too hot to die" life. Nick tries to call and warn him, but just as Hunt picks up, a kid blasts him with a water gun, shorting out the phone. Hunt does what any mature adult would do, snatches the water gun from the kid and chucks it onto the pool's control box because, you know, safety first. And then everything goes downhill. The gun falls, hits a lever, and suddenly the pool drain kicks into full soul-sucking mode. Meanwhile, Hunt's lounging, unaware that Death just activated vacuum from hell mode under him. Then, out of nowhere, a golf ball smacks him, knocking his precious lucky coin into the pool. As Hunt dives, the drain grabs him, and it doesn't let go. He thrashes, he screams underwater, but it's too late. The suction keeps building, and after a few agonizing moments, Hunt is pulled in, the wrong way. Let's just say the drain wins. His organs get yanked out through the worst possible exit and are fired out of a pump like Death just hit the jackpot on a meat grinder. And yes, the lucky coin comes out with them because Death has a sense of humor too. Bobby Campbell. So Bobby's just trying to be alive, which, in Final Destination world, is a full-time job. The good news? Bobby's got a peanut allergy. So Eric's totally foolproof idea? Trigger Bobby's allergy just enough to stop his breathing, then revive him, and voila, new lease on life. They hit the vending machine and Bobby picks his salted doom. But the machine eats the snack. Eric shakes it. Bobby joins in. They get the snack. They head into the MRI room and where everything quickly goes downhill, leading to Eric's death, which I covered previously. Now it's Bobby's turn. He's still struggling after eating the peanut snack, gasping for air. He crawls to Eric's crumpled body, manages to grab the EpiPen and stabs himself. Victory, right? He's alive. Wham! That random spring from the vending machine? Yep, it finally finishes its journey, flies in like a metal dart from the heavens, and drills itself into Bobby's forehead. Dennis Lapman. So after Nathan accidentally gives Roy a DIY lobotomy with a giant hook at the factory, Peter, Sam, and Molly show up like it's a company picnic. While everyone's still processing the surprise decapitation, Peter casually drops a theory. Maybe Nathan just inherited Roy's lifespan like it's a Costco membership. Sam's trying to make sense of Death's next move when Dennis storms in. Full middle management energy, ready to yell at someone. He's not even concerned about the whole guy just got skewered situation. Dennis is here to talk policies and procedures like
Nothing's on fire.
Unfortunately, something is on fire, metaphorically at least.
It was what?
The vibrations send the wrench flying right into a spinning belt sander, which launches it like a bullet. It is hurled at Dennis's face, killing him instantly. Nick, Lori, and Janet. 2 weeks after surviving collapsing theaters, car crashes, escalators from hell, and more foreshadowing than a haunted novel, Nick, Lori, and Janet decide to grab a coffee. You know, relax, chill, and have some fun. They meet up at Death by Caffeine, which, let's be honest, should have been a red flag right there. While Lori and Janet chat like nothing ever happened, Nick can't shake the feeling that something's still off. The signs are everywhere. Symbols, reflections, eerie coincidences. He suddenly realizes the truth. This whole survival streak was never the real plan. Death just needed them to land right here, in this exact spot, at this exact moment. As he starts to explain, a scaffold next to the cafe wobbles, then crashes into the street.
It was the plan from the beginning.
A truck swerves to avoid it, but ends up barreling straight through the cafe window. Janet is caught beneath the truck's front tire. Her spine snaps like dry spaghetti, ribs crushed in an X-ray-worthy splatter. Lori is thrown backward into a steel support beam. Her neck whiplashes so violently it severs everything inside. Nick's launched into the wall like a rag doll. Skull cracks. His body slumps to the floor, bleeding out as his teeth scatter across the tile like morbid confetti. Just like that, game over. And this cafe special? Triple shot, full body annihilation. Carter Horton. So after all the madness, Carter, Alex, and Clear decide they've earned a little vacation. Just 3 trauma survivors sipping drinks at a quaint French cafe. Like Death didn't just nearly fry one of them or turn another into train track salsa. Alex, of course, starts acting twitchy again, spotting new omens around them because his survival anxiety clearly didn't book a return flight. Clear tries to convince him that nothing bad could possibly happen, while Carter...
Or you could still be next.
But Death? Oh, it's still here, watching, waiting, lurking behind a croissant. Alex gets up and nearly gets flattened by a bus, but it swerves, crashes into a pole and launches it into the air. The pole hits a giant restaurant sign, knocking it loose and turning it into a lethal pendulum. As the sign comes swinging down toward Alex, Carter shoves him out of the way at the last second like a hero, or so he thinks. He proudly declares that he was right.
I told you were next. Just skip me.
Death missed Alex. Victory? Not so fast.
So who's next?
Darlene Campbell. The crew arrives at Iris's cabin, but Death's not waiting for a warm welcome. The gate's locked, time's ticking, and Stephanie knows it. So she does what any desperate Final Destination survivor would do. Rams the gate full speed. It works, sort of. Inside the car, Stephanie's seatbelt, predictably, jams. She tells Darlene and Charlie to run for it, putting herself on hold to make sure they're safe. They sprint toward the cabin. A hanging potted plant drops just right and flips on the stove, leaking gas and setting the stage for a home-cooked fireball. Outside, a busted light sparks. And guess where that spark lands? Right into the cabin, lighting the fuse. Darlene, in a rare heroic moment, shoves Charlie away at the last second as the cabin explodes. She's thrown, injured but alive, and finds Charlie trapped under rubble. She digs him out, burned and bleeding, but still mom-strong enough to give him one last pep talk. He hesitates to leave her, but Darlene, classic final act martyr, tells him to go save Stephanie, promising she'll hold on.
I'm gonna stay alive as long as
She doesn't. Right as the music swells, a damaged lamppost just barely hanging on from the earlier blast gives up. Ian McKinley. So the town's throwing a whole tricentennial fair. Banners, fireworks, good vibes, and death, as per usual. Ian, now fully convinced that he is supposed to be the one to kill Wendy, starts creeping in with full villain energy. He's unhinged, cocky, and just angry that death skipped him. Not a sentence most people complain about. Wendy, doing her best final girl negotiation, tries to logic him down.
You'll save me if you just stay away!
But Ian? He's over it. He's got nothing to lose, except, well, his entire torso. Suddenly, fireworks misfire and nearly blast Ian on the spot. But no, Death's got something more dramatic in mind. The fireworks slam into a cherry picker, which just so happens to be holding up the fair's massive sign. Ian, still shouting,
I'm not dying.
Looks up. Right as the tricentennial sign detaches and comes crashing down, and in one final sassy middle finger to fate move, he flips off Wendy before bleeding out for good. Kat Jennings. Kat's the kind of person who drives like she owns the road and talks like she owns the planet. So when she's hauling the gang to the hospital in her SUV, you already know something's going to go horribly wrong. And oh, it does. Rescue workers show up and start using the jaws of life to pry her out. She lights a cigarette and tells the guy with the rescue tool to keep it down. The rescue worker just freezes, horrified. Kat's dead. The car's airbag just unintentionally assassinated her.